Yo, what is up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. We got today a little bit of a comparison video. I can sit and talk about what I see is different in 2K21 comparatively to 2019, but I thought it would be better if I actually put that comparison to the test in a little bit of a side-by-side. So I'm going to be going over today some differences that I notice, want to show all of you the differences. Anybody who is new coming into the golf world that HB Studios has created, I also want to show them how much work this team has been putting into the new game. And I feel that these differences and these upgrades, these changes that they have done is just showing progress that HB Studios has been putting into this golf franchise. And honestly, I just see this going up from here. They just keep putting out a better product every time that they come out with one of these games. So right here we have the same exact course that they played, TPC Scottsdale. Don't have a crowd as this is in play now instead of career, but just right off the bump you can really see the differences that they've made graphically to the game. I bumped graphics up on my PC a little bit, almost up to max. Anything close to max and I get some frame issues, but running at a near max quality, you can really just tell the difference that they've put into the game in textures and just overall graphical quality, not only of the course but of the player model itself. Like you can see on the left and up the fairway the changes they made to add texturing to the grass, to the fairway, to the light rough, to the heavy rough especially, and the blending that they've done between the two looks so much better. Looking at the shadows even, as I put forth in a couple of the breakdowns that I did, the shadows have always been a little on the jagged side, but they've actually worked to smooth them out. They've blended them a lot better as the lighting comes down to hit the subject. They've done a lot of work in the lighting department, even just the glare of the lights on the player model itself, and the crowd, and the water, and really just everywhere in general. They've put a lot of work into the graphics, especially of the course. The trees aren't as jagged, the foliage looks better, the undergrowth looks better, just everything looks better. Even out into the distance, there's a lot more quality that they've put in. And overall, the game just looks better, period. It looks like a more realistic representation of a golf course. 2019 comes off a little on the flat side, and they've really just put in the work in 2K21 just to make it look more visually pleasing than its predecessor. But those are all things that you can see just by really just watching the video today. I mean, you'll notice, I'll point them out when they come up, but you'll notice. I want to jump into the overall swing mechanics and the changes that they've made to the swing mechanics. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you would know that I have always had a problem with swing mechanics in 2019. It's always seemed slow, clunky, choppy. There's this weird hitch that occurs, which I'll actually show you here in a little bit. And more than likely, this is tied just to the tempo, the backswing, the transition into the downswing. They've fleshed that all out in 2K21. It has been improved so much that you can just sit here and notice the difference just by watching, either in slow-mo, which I'll show, or in full speed. So we'll start this off right from the moment that the club is moved, right from the moment that the animation starts, and you'll notice the difference right away just of how much faster that they've made the swing. I thought that they may have, just watching it look like they have, but getting everything side by side actually shows the difference quite a bit. Already through before the downswing even starts in 2019. 2K21 has pretty much doubled the speed of the swing itself, which looks so much better, so much more fluid. The ball flights, it seems as 2K21 is actually a little bit slower. 2019 actually, even though the swing ends a little bit later, it still hits at about the same time. It seems like they've also worked on the physics of the ball actually hitting the fairway and rolling out a little bit more. These are on very firm fairways that I did. in 2019, and I still didn't get the roll that 2K21 had. Even in full speed, you can see that the difference is quite substantial. They have made it look so much smoother. So one thing that is always been a sore for me in this game is sometimes this weird hitch occurs at the top of your swing where it transitions from backswing to downswing. And you'll see it in this slow-mo of it. It's about a 5 to 6 frame hitch that occurs. And honestly, once you see it, you'll never be able to unsee it because it happens quite often in this game. And it just kind of jars you out of the swing a little bit. Maybe it's just me. I get caught in the weeds sometimes just looking at stuff that doesn't affect the gameplay at all, but it just visually frustrates me. That's all. So you see it right here. This is in 2019. Look at where the swing transitions from backswing to downswing, and you'll see this weird hitch in the swing that occurs right there. This weird hitch. It's about a 5 frame hitch that occurs in 2019. You can even see it when the swing is running in full speed. It is very noticeable. In 2K21, I don't know if it's changing in transitions or if it's adding the power bar and focusing less on backswing and transition tempo or what it is, but they have fleshed that transition out very well. They've made the swing look a lot more fluid. A lot more fluid than it is in 2019. They've not only sped it up, they've made the transition cleaner. They've made everything cleaner about the swing in 2K21. It seems like they've done a lot of work in that department. You'll see it's just a little bit of a hitch, not much. It's 1 frame where it transitions from backswing to downswing, and when you're playing it at full speed, you can't even notice it. So they've done a lot of work in smoothing everything out, especially when it comes to the swing in 2K21. It looks miles better than what it did in 2019 and in any past golf club games, honestly. So next up, we have the wood shot, slight draw wood shot from the fairway. Mainly, you'll notice here that, again, the swing much faster, like pretty much all of the swings across the board in 2K21. But the amount of small details that they've put into the new 2K21 comparatively to 2019 is really nice. It's a very, very small details graphically, but if you just look right at the beginning of this, where they come down and swing, you'll notice on the right that a nice little divot's taken. There's actual like dirt particles coming out of the ground as well. It just looks like you actually swung a club through the ball off the ground. And on the left, as it finishes up, you'll see not much happened. There's a couple of spots that came popping up, no divot, nothing of that nature. Like, just the amount of small detail that has been put into this new game is quite nice. And just adds to the realism overall of the game itself. And honestly, just the overall quality that they've put just into the game, looking out over the course, you can really tell that they've put in a lot of work to make sure that the golf course looks as good as it can, or as good as it plays. The grass is actually textured. The fairway to the heavy rough is actually, blended well. It looks like grass. Here it just looks like a bunch of stripes on the fairway. It doesn't actually look like grass to me. Like, there isn't like patches of different colors of grass, nothing of that nature. It just doesn't look that real. And the only thing that's different about the rough is it's just a different color, and that's it. Like, there's that when you're out there, it actually looks like a golf course. They've put in a lot of work to make sure, and I applaud them for it. All right, so the next clip is the putt. So I said in the breakdown that they definitely put in a lot of work to the green grid, and you can see that here. This is almost the exact same putt that they putted, that I putt in 2019. You can tell just by looking at this that the work that they put into the green grid is spectacular. They actually made it so that the beads are quite visible. In 2019, the further you get away, the less visible they are, which leads to you having to zoom into your shot a lot more, instead of just being able to read the green from where you're sitting. They made the entire green grid stick out more. They added a gradient, which is great. Before, you just had to rely on, this is the speed of the bead, so this is how much I'm going to move to the left or the right, depending on the speed. You have your base that you start at, but then you differ depending on the speed of the beads, the speed of the break. In 2K21, they've added a nice little gradient where it goes from light green to yellow to red, and the gradient in between all of that. And also, you get the green grid for the entire green, which is spectacular because right now it was limited, as you can see. It is limited from where you're at as a golfer to the hole and a little bit past. In 2K21, you see the entire green, the grid laid out. The beads are much more visible, and the actual gradient of the slope is a lot better. Now, what you're going to see in this putt is something I've always had a problem with in 2019. Sometimes the putts just float. They float. It almost looks like you hit the ball and the ball just skates on ice until it actually hits a slope where it begins to break. It's a big problem where the ball just defies the break of the green, which is really strange. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But it's something that you really notice the more you play in 2019. And sometimes the ball just soars. In 2K21, it really seems, just as you see, not only is the swing faster, like I said, in all of the swings are faster, but in 2K21, the ball actually reacts to the green a lot better and to the break of the green. And it actually looks like a putt that you would see in real life, where in 2019, you'll see that the ball just kind of stays straight for the first 20, 25 feet for no reason whatsoever, because the ball's breaking left the entire time into a pretty heavy break. So the ball's already out before backswing's even done in 2019. Like again, I said, all swings are sped up. In 2K21, the ball does react a lot better to the green, actually starts breaking. In 2019, if you saw, for the first 20 feet, the thing didn't break at all. It just stayed straight. And then it finally caught and started breaking, but it was too late. I was still, 3.5, 4 feet to the right. Full speed, you can see, ball actually looks like it reacts a lot better. 2K21, they've done a lot of work, really. Honestly, they've put a lot of work into not only what looks like the swing mechanics, the physics, just everything that the ball is doing related to what the course is. So the slopes, the rough, the green, the fairway, everything. It looks like they've completely reworked the way that the ball reacts to the course itself. This next clip is to show a couple of things. So this is their shot from the rough. As you can see on the left, it just looks like a white ball is teed up on top of some dark green grass. That's pretty much it. It doesn't actually look like the rough. It doesn't look like heavy rough. It doesn't look like the ball is even in the rough. It just looks like it's teed up on some taller grass. The texturing is definitely a little flat. It's dark. It just doesn't look like grass. I don't know how else to say that. In 2K21, the texturing of the heavy rough is great. The ball is actually buried in the rough. It would be nice to see, different rough types, which I'm sure is something that they can do, and maybe something that they have done. But the ball actually looks like it's in the rough. It actually looks like the player is actually standing in the rough too. On the left side, it just looks like they're standing on top of some darker grass. But in 2K21, it actually looks like the golfer is standing in some heavy rough, getting ready to take the shot. Again, you'll see the differences in graphics, the particles, everything that comes up. It actually looks like the ball is being hit out of the rough. It leaves, again, a nice little divot. The heavy rough actually kind of breaks away. And on the left side, it just looks like the ball comes out. There really isn't anything that occurs. And you'll see the difference. It looks a lot better overall, visually, than in 2019. And it's something that I think they've put a lot of work into. It may be subtle changes, but adding any form of realism to the way that the course looks and plays will just add to the sim aspect of this game. Then in full speed, you see that ball comes out on a rocket. It doesn't get as much height, but it does get about a similar roll that you would get into 2019. So the height isn't as much. The carry isn't as great. I had about the same exact, I'm guessing the same exact lie, about a 50% lie. My carry was a little bit longer than what they had. So I'm thinking that there's been a little bit of a rework to launch angles for the game, because the 3-wood didn't come out as steep, didn't come out as high. It didn't travel as far carry, but it did hit and roll out more. So there's been a rework of some sort with the way that the ball reacts to the course physically. All right, this next clip is the chip that they ran just outside the green. Not only, again, will you notice that the speed of the chip has been increased, but the overall fluidity of the chip has been fleshed out as well. In 2019, to get a perfect chip, you kind of have to hold it just a little bit at the top, where it just doesn't look fluid at all. It looks unnatural, where you're holding it at the top just for a split second, but that's the best way to get a perfect, at least for me it is. On 2K21, they've fleshed that all out. The chip actually looks fluid. It comes out at about the same angle, although the 2K21 rolls out a little bit more than in 2019. And also the overall blending of fairway to light rough to heavy rough just looks, I mean, it's night and day, the differences that they've made when it comes to the texturing of the course itself. Hopefully it translates over to all courses and the courses that are created by the community, but at least for the official ones, everything just looks better. And you notice that little bit of a hitch that occurs at the top. That's just that momentary pause in 2019 to get the perfect swing for a chip. It's astonishing just how much better the game looks in 2K21. All right, next up we have the Lob Wedge pitch that occurred on the 15th. About the same distance out. The Lob Wedge pitch is actually a little bit shorter in 2K21, so I don't know if they've shortened the distance of all the pitches. I've talked about it a lot of times. I really would love to see them rework flop shots. If pitches would become more used than a flop, that would be great. Because right now, flops are a little bit broken. I mean, I don't know when the last time you saw a 42-yard flop was, but those can be used quite often and quite accurately. A 36-yard flop can be used. I would like to see flops be less used, and if this power bar turns out to work the way that a lot of people are hoping, then maybe that will remove the use for flop shots. I mean, I don't want them removed completely, but I think a rework for them would be great, where they are either a lot shorter or a lot harder to execute correctly. But anyways, here's the difference between 2019 and the 2K21 Lob Wedge pitch shot. I don't even have to talk about graphically how much better 2K21 looks. But again, the shot is a lot more smooth. With pitch shots, you also have to hold just momentarily at the top to get a perfect. Launch angles look about the same. The 2K21 actually bounces and sticks a lot better, where 2019 rolls out a little bit more. So maybe that has to do, with maybe a little bit better of spin rates on pitch shots. I'm not quite sure, but overall 2K21 just looks a lot better, and you can actually stick it a lot better from what it seems. And then finally we have the iron shot. Same iron is being used. They may have a little bit of a difference depending on what irons they are using for distancing. I used pro clubs for this because that seemed to match the distancing the best. But this 7-iron it's a lot shorter of an iron, so I tried to get it as close as possible with the same iron. But you'll notice here that it's just, again, faster swing, but also more stick from the initial bounce of the ball, but a little bit more of a rollout in 2K21. It is going slightly down a downslope, which would make sense, but there's definitely a lot more of a stick in 2K21 than there was in 2019 with this mid-iron. Again, the swing speeds and the swing mechanics are just so much better in 2K21. So much better compared to 2019. It makes me so happy to see. Launch angles and like peak height do look almost identical as well. By the way, I really thought I was going to drop this ball in 2019. But you'll see in 2K21, there's a lot more of a stick. it hits, it still gets a bounce, but it just sticks a lot better, where 2019 gets that initial bounce and then a couple of more extra bounces after that, and then finally it rests and starts to roll. Whereas in 2K21, it gets that initial bounce and it just settles a lot quicker and rolls out a lot better. I'm still gonna wait and see what kind of spin rates we get for all clubs, but overall, what I've seen, it looks a lot better overall. And that's all of the swing types right there that I thought needed a little bit of a compare to them. Overall, this is just comparing the game side by side so that people have that. I know that you can see the difference. I mean, if you've played a ton of 2019, you can definitely see the difference just looking at the video. But this was just like a little bit of a side-by-side comparison for people who want to actually visualize those differences side by side. So that's it for this video. I think I mainly made this more for myself, just to see the differences myself, but I thought I'd put it up on the YouTube just so you all can see it as well. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like on the video or think about subscribing to the channel. We got a ton of more 2K21 content. As soon as they announce more stuff, you'll get a video from me. When the game releases, there is going to be a ton of content coming out for 2K21. I also play my TGC Tour rounds every single week. I'm on the PGA Tour, and my rounds 1 through 4 are posted here every single week, Wednesday through Saturday. So if you're interested in anything of that nature, think about subscribing to the channel. I also stream live over at twitch.tv/respawntv. If you want to see the live side of things, you can catch me over there Monday through Friday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Deuces.